if your child has difficulty with eating certain foods, maybe they're a picky eater, help them by going slow. I've worked with kids who they can't even be in the same room as a non-preferred food. They may run away or, hide their face or hide under the table. So start with just having them be comfortable in the room with some non-preferred foods. As they get comfortable with that, then you can kind of move to maybe it's on the table, but not on their plate.
We may be talking about kids here who are having a fight or flight reaction to foods. Not kids that you think need a little bit of encouragement. You can put something on their plate. They might complain about it, but then they'll eat it. We're talking about the kids who cannot control the reaction they have, and they get panicky and they get anxious. And like Anya said, they might even leave the room. That's definitely a red flag that your kid is a severe picky eater. And Anya and I are going to bounce some ideas off each other here about things that you can try, as well as talking to an occupational therapist.
If your child's having a really intense reaction, that could be a big red flag that they are having some sensitivities to food. On another person's plate, how do they do with that? Are they still running away? Meet them where they're at and see where they're comfortable, and see if you can slowly go to the next part of the meal or the next part of how they could tolerate interacting with the food. Maybe it's on their plate. Maybe they stab it with their fork. Maybe they touch it with one finger, or then they give it a kiss and put it back down. Just start going very slowly.
One of the things that I always recommend, in addition to what Anya is talking about, where you're giving different exposure very slowly, is to try and be a detective. See if you can notice some patterns in where your child is having difficulty. Are they only eating certain colors of food? Are they only tolerating certain textures of food? Are they only tolerating certain temperatures of food? Will they eat oatmeal but not ice cream? Will they eat crackers and pancakes and toast, but they won't touch anything that's green? Will they eat yogurt but not touch something that has a little bit more texture like oatmeal? If you have a little notebook and start jotting down your own observations of where your child is having a problem, you can then go back to the strategies Anya is talking about, where you're challenging them just a little bit. So if they are only eating things that are brown, can you put something that is close to brown? It might be yellow, for example, and that's the only change that you're making. Along with the brown foods, you've got something small that's yellow that you're going to let them be exposed to for a while and see if they can tolerate that change.
They're only tolerating something that's brown, and now you're going to try something yellow. You can even show them, we're going to take this brown food and add just a drop of yellow food coloring. The same food, just the colors changing, and see how they do with something like that. Also, it's important to remember that they can have a napkin nearby. If they need to spit out a food, or if they touched it and they're not sure, have them, have a napkin, say it's okay to wipe it off or spit out a bite of food that you tried. And also remember that if your child puts a food in their mouth, chews it, and spits it out, they're trying the food. They're getting all of that sensory input in their mouth. So you can say, good job, you tried it. Like, that's really awesome.
I think with picky eaters, it's really important to celebrate the small steps. And if you're starting with a child who's yelling, no, 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 and running out of the room, you get to a point where they are staying in the same room, or they are letting you put a food on their plate that previously would have had them running from the room, or touching it or kissing it, like Anya was just saying. These are huge. So I think celebrating each small step is really important when we're talking about picky eaters.
If you have a child who has this really intense reaction to foods, you may benefit from having them get an occupational therapy evaluation. And an occupational therapist will work with your child to help them get more comfortable with different foods, different food textures, different food temperatures or colors, and help mealtimes really be more successful. To find out more information, you can visit allaboutTherapyforkids.com.